let's pop off right now. We got to get started.
We gotta go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's get the people in the chat. Everyone, and welcome to the Hit and Hustle Instant Reaction Post-Game Show brought to you by irishsportsdaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flamong, and with me, as always, is Jamie Ueyama, Mr. Jamie University. Notre Dame has just finished off a 45-24 victory over the NC State Wolfpack in Raleigh, North Carolina. Notre Dame cannot play a football game in Raleigh without there just being some horrific weather situations, weather systems. It just can't happen, Jamie. But thankfully, they got the game off and everyone was safe. So we're going to be breaking down all of that. Notre Dame started slow today and finished strong. And I hate to say, Jamie, I don't like tooting my own horn. Maybe I predicted that exact situation. Maybe that's true. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all things. We're going to talk about the slow start. Very contentious start to the game. Notre Dame pulls away late. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If this is your first time catching the show, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you know we're going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. Yeah, Notre Dame looked real good at the end of that game, Jamie. Notre Dame looked good. And if you want to look good, you're going to want to go to ESQclothing.com. They have created the world's first bamboo dress shirt, crafted from high-quality bamboo fabric. It's the softest and most comfortable shirt you'll ever put on. It's not only more sustainable than cotton, but it also feels cooler, has stretch, is odor and wrinkle-resistant, and it's even machine washable. You've seen ESQ's one-piece collar bamboo dress shirt, and it's the perfect shirt for today's business meeting or heading for a night out. Use ISD15 and get 15% off all online items. That's ISD15 for 15% off. Jamie, what are your initial takeaways from the game today? Obviously it's kind of a disjointed start because of the weather. They have to come back. They basically played one quarter, hour and 45 minutes off, play the rest of the three quarters. Main takeaway from the game, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty for everybody.
Well, I think from the start, it was obviously like a weird game in terms of because of the weather, like you mentioned, but just the start, you could kind of see like Notre Dame. It was like, okay, this is like a real opponent now, right? Like you're playing real guys, and I think that like you saw, like very first series, Dab Man. I mean, he's a baller.
Yeah.
I mean, he beats Rocco Spindler for a sack, right? And it's like, this isn't Navy rushing you anymore. This isn't Tennessee State, right? You can't. These guys aren't going to be so easily moved off the ball, and so it was an adjustment. And I think that I think the main thing you could say is that obviously the offense didn't play well. But I thought Jared Parker called a good game, like a really good game. Like just, yeah. I mean, obviously, so many of those outside of the Tyree one, which was like a broken play, that turned into something good. Everything else was, like a really good call, like timely call, just good play design. A lot of that play action stuff was really, really good, and really what's crazy because Stays could have had, there was that other little RPO one that he missed. Like he could have had more, right? Like, so he did a really, really good job with that kind of stuff. And so I think, and then obviously just coming out that play to Audric, the 80-yard touchdown, like that was a formation that they had not shown before. They had not run that.
They didn't show in the game. They went out there and they drew up something good. I mean, talk about using the time off. I mean, that's the definition of getting schemed up right there. Yeah. It was really good stuff from him.
So, and whether or not that was that could have been just like a split second thing that helped open something up. And there you go. Like they hit it for 80 yards. And the defense really, outside of the penalties, the defense was awesome. In this game. They played really well. And even some of the stuff were I think some people were complaining about the pass rush, and it was the pass rush was pretty good. Like, I don't know what people want to out of the pass rush. I bet the numbers are going to look pretty good in terms of pressure rate and what they had. And I just thought that Golden called a good game in terms of being aggressive when he needed to, and just I think you kind of saw what people were saying. I mean, NC State's doesn't have the receivers, and they just got ate up by Notre Dame's corners. Even that one big play to Cam Hart, like Hart was right there. He's got to make that play, like you said. He's got to keep running through. That shouldn't have happened, right? And like Ben Morrison dropped a pick earlier in the game. Like there were other things like that too, right? You know, they had
NC State put the ball on the ground 3 or 4 times that they recovered themselves. Like they could have had a ton of turnovers in this game.
Yeah, and you know, you get a 20.5% havoc rate. You're going to take that any time. And really, like, they didn't really run the ball at all. Like, they barely even tried to. And Armstrong, they totally contained him as a runner. His longest run of the day was 9 yards. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how you can say that, you know, they give up the one garbage time touchdown at the end. But if you're looking at like the 17 points that like when the actual defense was playing, 10 of those points came from penalties, like basically, like that's the only reason. And I mean, some of it is you got to be a little bit more disciplined. Like the Anye one was like kind of, he admitted it. That's just like one of those dumb rules. It's like he hits him in the helmet, they call it automatically. It was like, it was not violent. There should be like some ref's discretion there, but there isn't. They call it by the rule, whatever, right? But like Ben Morrison's one was a dumb play, but it was like the guy was taunting and standing over him and pushed down on him again. And it just, they catch the guy who retaliates. And it was just like kind of bad luck there. Yeah. But I mean, it happens, right? But that's how they got their plays, really. Like that's how they generated offense. Yeah. Like Armstrong was who we thought he was in this game.
Right.
Like he threw for 260 only because he threw 47 freaking times. Like he had 5.5 yards per attempt. It was like it was under that before. It was like 4 something before the final drive. So really, like that was like boosted by the final drive. And like, why is Armstrong even in the game then? Like, get a backup in. Like that was stupid. But I don't know. Like I think considering the circumstances, it's a first true road game. NC State, they hadn't given up over 40 points in a game since 2019. Mm-hmm. So I think it was like 17 straight games they hadn't given up over 30 points. So it kind of gives you that idea. They won 16 and 17 at home, right? So I mean, it's an impressive win. It's definitely an impressive win.
Yeah. A lot of people are talking about the refs. We have a ref segment coming up later, so you just wait for that. I'm fired up, as you know, Jamie. I don't like this stuff. S. Gomez, though, this is actually a question. The sack on Hartman? He gets clotheslined. He tackles him at the neck. Is that a penalty?
I don't know.
I don't know either. It just seems to me that if
feels like in the NFL, that's a penalty.
It seems to me if Anye is going to touch his helmet, maybe you can't tackle him by the neck. It just seems to me. But that, you know, being what it being, that isn't even one of the things that I had a problem with in this game. But we're going to get to that. So Jared Parker, you talked about him. I agree with your comments. And I think you would agree with this as well. There were some situational play calls that I did not like. The flea flicker, hated it. Because, and here's why. I don't care. Like people say, oh, you don't have to get cute. You can get cute if you want. If you can call a play if you like it. The problem is at that point in the game, NC State was getting they were coming with so many bodies. Like you can't call a slow developing play of any kind at that point when the quarterback isn't even having his eyes go downfield 2-3 seconds after the play starts. That's why I didn't like it, right? Flea flicker, reverse, whatever. If you think it's there, but like the type of play, it just wasn't happening. I mean, they were sending so many bodies in the first quarter. It was like they were completely overwhelming Notre Dame. I was very unsurprised that on the first play of the second drive, they tried to throw bubble because it's like, okay, they're going to bring this many bodies. Let's spread them out. We'll throw a bubble. It just wasn't happening for them. But I agree. Like as the game went on, you can see how he adjusted to them and then got Notre Dame into good situations. There were times when Sam Hartman, I felt like, was way too flustered. Like holding the ball, you got to get the ball out of there. You're holding, you're holding sacks. You're just kind of, he's trying to extend plays. He doesn't want to give up on the play. Sometimes you need to do that. I thought he made some mistakes there. And
second fumble.
Yeah, like you got to get it out.
You got to get it out, or just you make the first guy miss. That's tucked right there. You got to tuck it. Like that's just what it's just. That's a rookie mistake for a guy who's a veteran.
Yeah. And obviously you can't have that stuff. There was the Holden State. Everyone says the Holden Stays game. Tobias had a big play in this game. He had another big third down conversion catch that was wiped out for the offensive PI. But like that's a big play for him. Yeah. And the thing that we've been harping on for the last 2 weeks is these plays have been available to Notre Dame. They just haven't gotten to them, or they weren't thrown because they were thrown to somebody else, right? And this is what I meant by Notre Dame has so many different ways to beat you that it's difficult for a team like NC State to take away all of those things. They were hell-bent on not giving up the run game. As we suspected, they are going to try to stop the run in this game, and they went after it. They sent bodies. They put their corners in bad situations. And Notre Dame, and Jared Parker, to his credit, said, I don't need to just resort to taking shots downfield that are low percentage. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you being overly aggressive, and I'm going to leak these tight ends, and I'm going to leak these backs. And that is the way that we're going to beat you. That was a very good use of his weapons, very good use of like, hey, we don't need to put Sam Hartman under pressure while they're sending too many people for us to blitz and it's for us to pick up. And even if he does throw it over the top, he's going to get hit. We don't need to do that. Let's just throw it to stays out in the flat. Sam Hartman gets rid of it quick. They don't have the numbers. I thought was a fantastic game plan. Going on to the game plan over by Al Golden, those defenders, they were ready to play. They had a good plan. They executed the plan. If it wasn't for the penalties, which the offsides, clean it up, get it out. Too many jumping offsides. Can't have it. The rest of it, just spot on defensive game plan from Al Golden. Big credit to him. What did you see from Al Golden in this game, Jamie, that stood out to you?
Well, one, I think that Spear looked great when they were on third down, like what they were doing there. Like, I thought that looked tremendous, right? Like, just the different looks that they were kind of showing. And I think that was something that when they didn't rush extra there too, Armstrong was rattled. Like he was like, couldn't find, or like that DJ Brown pick was like, he didn't know where to go. And then he was just like, I guess I'm going here. That's a throw that it's late in the game, whatever, but that's like a 7-on-7 throw you make in practice, but you don't make in the game, where you're just like, okay, I moved to this and whatever. Like he just moved to it because he was like, I got to get rid of the ball now. Right. Like that's happening. And I think so that kind of stuff, the pressure, like bringing the pressure was, important because he's bad versus the blitz, and he was bad in this game. Like he had Armstrong had 197 yards before the final drive, where basically like they they had backups in, they're just giving it up. Right. Like, it was under 5 yards per attempt and obviously threw the 3 picks, But like, look how many hands or times the secondary got their hands on the ball in the game, right? Like, they had 3 picks, 8 pass breakups in the game. Like,
and I want to make the point, Jamie. Sorry to interrupt. I'll let you continue, but I do want to make the point that, again, the rush and the pressure, that's what that leads to. Is the defenders getting 8 breakups, 3 interceptions, obviously the drop pick by Christian Gregg, the drop pick by Morrison, like those are counted in the breakups. But this, like, that's what comes of it. And turnovers are obviously, they're better than sacks, because you get the ball. And anyway, I just wanted to make that point. Please continue.
Yeah, no, I think that's a huge part of it. And there was also like other stuff that got like lucky. Like you mentioned those fumbles. Armstrong throws that one screen that was like almost to JJB, but it ends up Maris got the pressure, got free on the blitz. And that hit the offensive lineman. I don't know what, like
illegal
like
touching.
Said, is that not
what's going on?
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Also, receiver nowhere close to the area. Like, why was that? How was the Sam Hartman one the intentional grounding where it looked like he was outside of the tackle box to me? Like,
well, that's a penalty because it was a flea flicker. You can't throw it away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why. Okay, that makes sense. But it's that, like, on that that never, like, there was a bunch of those kind of things, and there was a bunch of plays too where they don't get kind of counted as like sacks or whatever, where just Armstrong just throws the ball away, right? Where he just throws the ball away or had to scramble. And when he scrambled, he didn't really get much, right? Like, really, like, the only real play that he kind of made out of like the pocket with his legs was the touchdown, that first touchdown, right? Which is a good throw. And even those ones too, like you'd say, man, NC State dropped some passes, right? The coverage on those was really good. Like, those was tight coverage. Those are tough throws to make. And I would say Armstrong, you could probably say he probably graded out better than his actual numbers would look. But still, there was also a bunch of ones too where he threw the ball high that it was tipped. It was like, he's lucky some of those didn't get picked. Like those are ones that get picked too, right? So, and I think too, like, they didn't do anything with the run game the whole day, right? Like, they had a 13-yard run early in the game, and that was it. Like, they did nothing running the football. And it was just like one of the it was just a really, really good job by Golden, and then the players going out and executing it too. And I see a lot of people too bringing up, like, Marist in the comments too, and he was really good again. And I think it just goes to show, like, there was like early play, there was like a screen where he just blew it up and got a tackle for loss. But I mean, he was an impactful guy. This is and this is the first real game against a real team. So you're like, yeah, he played great against Navy, but it was Navy. Well, it's like, well, no, yeah, he's good. He's good. And I just thought there was just so many guys who made plays. I loved seeing the safeties make plays too, especially because they're just, it seems like people are kind of waiting for them, but it's like they didn't even really get many opportunities. So this was kind of their first game to kind of show out. And, like, X Watts gets a pick, had the great pass breaker before that. DJ Brown makes a terrific play on that too. Like, and I mean, it's the first game where you saw Notre Dame's corners and you're like, oh yeah, these guys are good. Like, these guys are good. Like, where was the spot when they were playing, when they were running vertical, that you didn't see a corner running right with them? And like I said, even that Cam
just
Hart
right on him. I mean, even the catch, even the catch that Cam Hart gave up, right on him. He's standing, he's right there. And the receiver makes a great catch. Like, there's little technique things that Cam Hart has to do, and you want better from a fifth-year senior. But even so, like, just terrific stuff. What did you think of the blitzes from depth, Jamie? I want to get to that from PQ What It Do, because he was very kind and gave us a super chat to ask this question. We talked about Al Golden, how well the game plan was. What did you think on the blitz pressures that Notre Dame sent today?
I mean, a lot of them good. I think actually the stuff from depth actually worked a lot better than some of the stuff they were showing, right? I think when they were showing maybe a little bit too early on some stuff, and that allowed it to kind of the protection to kind of be aware and pick some stuff up. So I actually thought the stuff from depth worked quite a bit better in this game. And I think that like I think they're gonna blitz Harper a lot more than they even did in this game too, because he was in coverage for most of the game. Obviously, like Harper had a really good game.
Speaking of which, he was key. 7 tackles, 2 breakups. I mean, he's all over the field. He is a huge pickup for Notre Dame. Very important player.
Yeah, he was very good in this game. I think too, if you look at it too, like just up front, Howard Cross was really, really good. Again, he's just an impactful guy. Like he's an impactful guy. And like Mills too, he like made an impact in this game. And I thought this was, because I didn't think it's weird. Like he didn't play that great against Tennessee State. This was a much better game from Riley Mills too. And just interior, and they should win because this isn't like, I didn't think it was a very good interior offensive line for NC State, and those guys should win, and they did.
Yeah. Our secondary filled with dogs. Watts looks awesome. Christian Gray looked good. Hart played meh. I mean, it's hard because he did give up the one, but then he had another breakup after that, and there was another play. He broke up when they sent a great pressure. They sent Harper off the side or off the nickel. And then I think it was DJ Brown who was sitting inside, and then Cam Hart jumps to out, which was, if it wasn't for a breakup by the wide receiver, Cam Hart's got a pick there. So he played a solid game too. The thing is that, like you said, there were so many penalties that went into NC State scoring on a couple of those drives. Like you're not seeing a ton of mistakes from the defense. I mean, the first one was like, what was it? Like 45 yards of penalties. I mean, just a ton of penalties. NC State had 5 first downs off a penalty today. I don't think Notre Dame had any. I'd have to go back and look, but I think I saw that they didn't have any. So, I mean, I didn't think he again, Hart had the one bad play. And what have we always said, Jamie? Loud misses, loud misses by him. PQ, what it do asks, what did you think the holding call on Harper was the right call? He seemed like he had him by the shoulder. Yeah. It seemed like he did. I think that one, you get a little bit frustrated because it came on the heels of the other ones that maybe we didn't think were for penalties. But I thought that one of all of them was a pretty good call. Rip B says that I nailed it on the game flow. It was like BC 2017, and it made a lot of sense for it to play out that way. Notre Dame just has so many ways to beat you on offense. And then defensively, you said it a ton of times in the preseason. This is a fast defense. These guys can run. And that really gives someone like Brennan Armstrong problems because he can't, like you said, the long run is 9 yards. Like he can't get outside. You saw it early in the game. He was trying to get outside. He was trying to run the ball, and then he's just getting run down. So many weapons defensively. Just a couple of stats to eat on. Notre Dame holds NC State to 4.4 yards per play, 344 yards of offense, and that's before the last drive where obviously they go the length of the field and it's basically garbage time points. So like in advanced stats, like that drive won't be factored in, right? Because it's garbage time. But to hold any offense to 4.4 yards with a quarterback like him who's going to be moving around all the time, extremely impressive. NC State runs 70 plays, Notre Dame 61. Notre Dame averages 7.5 yards per play. 63% passing for Sam Hartman. I'm interested to get your take on the way that he played today. Especially I guess the first half. In the second half, they kind of took it in a way out of his hands. I mean, you're throwing a bunch of checkdowns, like design plays. You're definitely only throwing it to him. Obviously, the big play to Tobias is a laser. It's a great throw. The touchdown to Jaden Greathouse, great throw, right? Just fitting it in there. He had a good couple seam throws to Holden Stays and one to Mitchell Evans that he dropped. But overall, what did you think of the way that he played today?
Yeah, it wasn't his strongest game. Wasn't even close to those first few games. And it's not just the 63% completion percentage compared to, the 80% that he had in the first game. But I think you're right. Like a lot of his plays were, designed like shot plays, right? Like plays that were just set up to for him to succeed. But that's also fine. Like it just that's fine. And that's also too. That's kind of why you go to Notre Dame, because then you don't have to do it all. And you don't have
That's
to
the difference. That's the difference between Wake Forest and Notre Dame. Because you get in a game like this at Wake Forest, guess what? They're just going to keep dropping you back. And that's why you throw 4 interceptions in a quarter, right? Like that's how it happened.
And I mean, obviously his numbers look like he had like 11.8 yards per attempt and 4 touchdowns. You're like, wow, like those, but it's obviously not indicative of the game.
Mm-hmm.
In saying that, like 2-minute drill, the guy comes through again. Obviously, he was boosted by that big Tyree play, but that throw to Jaden Greathouse was his best throw of the day.
Yeah,
was on the money, perfect throw. It was tight coverage. It was a really, really good throw. That seam ball he threw to Stays was a really, really good throw. So he made some good throws in this game. I think you're just looking at like the ball security on that second one specifically. Like that was just you can't there. So that was certainly bad. But and then I think too, like there was some stuff when against like the clock in his head has to go off sooner.
Yeah.
Like he's got to get rid of it. Like, and I know this is with so many guys, like there was just other plays where he should have just ran. And it's hard. I mean, you prefer a guy like him to be patient in general in the pocket because that's where he's going to do his most damage. But there were just some plays where he just didn't have that good feel for it in this game. And I think that was part of it. So, I don't know. I mean, the weather probably had an impact on him. Obviously, NC State has had, success against them, right? And like, first of all, this defense is really good. Like, to put up 45 on this defense is like kind of insane. They came in ranked top 25. Like, they got, like I said, they got NFL guys across. They got NFL guys up front. They, Peyton Wilson is a stud. He's a big time player. Those other linebackers too, even though they're not like they're new, like you saw some of those guys and how they blitz, like the way that Scott just kind of like threw Carell on that one play, right? Like, and their corners are good, right? Notre Dame didn't win on the outside in this game. And I knew they weren't going to win on the outside. And because of that, that's why you have to give credit to Parker too, because if you're just throwing these like fade balls against these guys that you aren't going to win. And it's like, it's basically 50-50, but probably less so against these corners. Then why would you do like, what are you doing? Right. Like that's just a recipe for disaster, but that's what a lot of teams do, because that's who they are. And Notre Dame didn't do that. Right. I mean, I'll be interested to kind of look at the chart after and see like how much was just on the middle of the field, because it seemed like so much was just like in between the hashes.
I want to bring up a very key point in this game. Arian Stack says Notre Dame did not score on the drive. Tobias had his long catch. He got caught by a linebacker. First of all, Peyton Wilson is an absolute.
Peyton Wilson runs a 4.45 40.
Like that guy, like he was. It's like, oh, you got caught by linebacker. That linebacker outran every corner and safety on that play, who was also chasing Tobias. That dude is a dude. Like that is a very, very good football player. Great athlete as well. But I want to highlight the fact that there's 2 minutes left. I didn't love the play call from from Parker in that where they were on the field, you don't want to drop back there in like 4 wide, 5 protection. You don't want to drop back there because now you're bringing a sack into play.
Yeah.
And that it didn't. I mean, Spencer Schrader's got an absolute cannon for a leg, so it didn't take him out of field goal range. But like, you don't want to kick a 56-yard field goal either.
It's a great point.
Yeah, so you don't want to do that. The way that they were running mesh concept on that, those receivers have to get into it quicker because Sam Hartman is ready to get rid of it. He's about to get hit, and Greathouse is not clear across the field yet. He needs to essentially let him pass the center, and then he can lead him out there. But they couldn't get there. That didn't get there quick enough. There's 2 minutes left. NC State is driving down the field. Marcus Freeman, they get the 1st and goal. They have 3 timeouts left. They run a play that's tackled inbounds. Marcus Freeman calls a timeout. That is absolutely like he calls timeout there, calls timeout second one. He creates a touchdown for Notre Dame through his decision making.
Yeah.
I don't remember, and I hate doing this because it's like I hate doing the thing where it's like, that's not what Brian Kelly would do. Or like Sam Hartman makes a throw. When has a Notre Dame quarterback made that throw? I guarantee there are times when Notre Dame quarterbacks have made the throw that Sam Hartman made. But I don't remember Brian Kelly being that aggressive at the end of a half like that. And Marcus Freeman knows they have 3 timeouts. They are not running out of time here. We want the ball back. Like having the ball is such a precious thing. And that is something that Dave Doran didn't understand when he called a timeout and then punted.
Yeah.
Can't do that. Yeah. Just take the delay of game. Like, why do that? Anyway, calls timeout. They kick a field goal, or did they kick a field goal or miss a field goal?
They missed the field goal.
They missed the field goal. No.
Oh no, they kicked a field goal. They kicked a field goal. Yeah, they
kicked
a field goal. They missed later. Yeah.
They go down and score a touchdown. That is coaching. That is creating an opportunity for your team. And that is also signaling to your team and your offense, like, hey, I want the ball to be in your hands. I want you to go down there. We are going to be aggressive and we are going to go after it. Kevin Simonson, it's a point that Jamie makes all the time. Marcus cares about the middle 8. He really does.
He does.
And he is very good at the middle 8. And that is just a great coaching move by Marcus Freeman at that point in the game. Comments, Jimmy.
Okay, so first of all, terrific point on that play from the Parker calling that play and them getting the sack there, because you can say of course he's got the leg for it. We showed that he could do it. Well, if it's 10 yards closer, the kick is made, right? Like it's just and that is too that like when you talk about guys who've called plays for years, they're like, we got to make a call here that if it doesn't work, we have to stay in field. We have to have a favorable field goal here. That happens all the time. And that's also too, like, that is probably a little bit of inexperience. Just like the flea flicker is probably a little bit of inexperience. Yeah. That's probably a little bit of inexperience for Parker. I'm sure he more than made up for it. Right. But yeah, that is a great point. And the point about the middle 8 too, like him understanding that, giving confidence to the offense. First of all, too, like now they've done it 3 times. So it's like now, even if it didn't work out one time, it's like, you're just going to keep doing it because you know that they can do it. Right. Mm-hmm. And huge mistake by Dave Doran at the end of the thing. You mentioned that timeout, but also at the end of the half, they're running on like they could have been aggressive there and tried to get like a field goal, but because they were like taking their sweet time, they get a 23-yard play. And then instead of like they had a timeouts, they could have got on the ball. They could have had like a couple shots there to get into field goal range. They got to throw a Hail Mary. Like that was a huge mistake. It just shows you too, like Dave Doran coached for 10 years. It doesn't matter, man. Like some of these guys make dumb mistakes, especially guys who have been coaching for that long. They think about, we're getting the ball in the second half rather than, hey, I mean, we got an extra possession here. We got to take advantage, right? Like,
Possessions are everything.
Yes, it is.
You cannot throw away a possession, especially when you're losing.
Yeah. And that just was like mind-boggling, you know, that he did that. But that also goes to show that's just like one of those things where, you know, he obviously doesn't think that way, the same way that Marcus Freeman does, and that was to Notre Dame's benefit. And also, I just want to just shout out one other thing from the defense too, because, you know, after that play with Hartman and the fumble, they get a stop there, which is huge. And even if it just caused the field goal was made, it would have been huge.
Mm-hmm.
But you just put pressure on a kicker to be like, okay, now I got to make this like, and sure, that guy makes the 49-yarder easy, looks perfect, right down the middle, right? But college kickers misses an easy one, right?
Yeah.
And there you go. All of a sudden, they had all the momentum taken away right there. And Notre Dame's still up 7. All of a sudden, they go down and like, I believe that was like a 3-play drive, and they score and they're up 14 again, like just like that. And then that's the kind of thing right there where like there were chances for the NC State crowd to kind of get into it and be a factor, and then it just always got taken away.
Yeah. That was a huge play. The first down play was when they tried the slot fade to Thomas Harper, and it's just a great job by him. Don't turn around in that spot. You play through the hands of the wide receiver. Like, it's just great stuff. And so they like you said, they earn the field goal attempt that they miss. And it's one of those things where it's like, you want the field goal, but it's like the whole sideline feels like we don't want to kick this field goal. They had to because of where they were, but it's like they don't want that. They had a chance to tie the game and they didn't. They had just got the turnover. The crowd's going crazy, and it's just like, oh, we got to kick a field goal. We can't take the lead, and then you miss it. Concepcion for NC State, tough game for him. Was he the freshman, Jamie? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Tough game. I mean, going up against Thomas Harper, like, that's going to be difficult. He had the drop that led to the Xavier Watts interception that essentially ended the game. So better days ahead for him. He also hurt his shoulder when Thomas Harper broke that play up. So that's difficult. Even McDonough said just punt the ball when NC State messed the ball. McDonough was wrong about that. They should have gone for that. You need to go for it. You're losing. You're at the 50. Like, are you trying? What is the deal? Do you want to win, or do you want to? What do you want to do?
I mean, normally I would say yes, but I could have, if they came out right away and decided to punt it rather than take the stupid timeout, I would have understood it if they were like, if we pin them, like there at that point in time, the defense was really playing well for NC State. So I could have seen that happen at that moment, and all of a sudden you're pinning them, and like, you know, maybe you get a safety out of it or something because of how aggressive they're. So I can kind of see it, even though I would lean like, I think probably like the analytics tells you to go for it there or whatever, or maybe even just game situation tells you to go for it. But I could kind of see it. It's just the timeout makes it just 10 million times worse. That's what it really is.
Yeah. So rushing the ball, Notre Dame is you take away the Hartman 5 for -27. Well, he also had a 16-yard run too, so it's hard to completely take that stuff away. But 37 for 170. You're looking at 190 without all the sack yardage. I feel like that's
207 for 6.3 yards per carry without the sack yardage.
Yeah, without the sack yardage. So obviously the 80-yard, that's kind of an outlier there. But at the same time, that counts. Why doesn't that count, right? Like, let's say it's a 50-yarder, and then they keep running the ball on that drive, continuing down the field. So obviously they had a very rough start to the game, but I thought, for how good the NC State defensive line is, for how good their linebackers are their front seven. I thought the fact that, Coogan and Rocco, very, very rough to start the game. I thought they picked it up pretty well. And they did what Notre Dame, wants to do in the way that they want to play, which allows them to hit the tight ends for, what they did. Holden Stays, 4 catches, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jaden Greathouse, 3 catches, 15, and the 1 touchdown. And then you got Chris Tyree with a big catch. Let me see here. Audric Estime, nice catch. I mean, Tobias with the other one. Again, he had 2 opportunities to catch the ball today. He made both plays. One was a huge play. So it's just like we've been saying, like that's been there for Notre Dame. All right, Jamie, let's talk about the refs. Let's talk about the refs real quick. And this is what I was saying last week when we were talking about them. It's the selective officiating that drives me crazy. How do you call Ben Morrison for pushing the guy in the face? The guy's standing over him. Like you said, he gives him the extra shove. They're out of bounds. Gives him the extra shove, then stands over him. Then he gets right in his face. Ben Morrison pushes him away. Well, no, that's unsportsmanlike. You can't push him. Why not? Well, I don't understand. Well, wait. Like, you can stand over a guy and you can taunt him, but Ben Morrison can't get him out of his face.
Guys.
Yeah, that's what it is. They're both doing something wrong. There's obviously an instigator. Like, the instigator never gets the instigator doesn't get anything for that. I don't understand that. And it's just, the offensive PI, right? If you want it to be a PI, I agree with you. You tweeted, like, you can't make it so obvious. It was a little bit too obvious what he wanted to do.
You got to sell it more. You got to sell it more.
You can't let them think this is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
You have to make it look like it's an accident. Okay.
You can even make it look like you're trying to, but you just got to, like, sell and do, like, the hard turn around your head.
Yeah, the hard turn.
Something like that. That's all you need to do. And I mean, it's just, he's a freshman. I mean, as advanced as he is in a lot of ways as a freshman, he's a freshman, right? Like, was just a play, and that,
but the bump, it's, if you want to call it, you can call it, right? And it's one of those things like, hey, I'll see it and I'll call it. Okay. They get the ball. They're going down there on the touchdown play. Howard Cross is past the defender or past the offensive line. And all of a sudden he stops running. And all of a sudden he's on the ground. Well, how does that happen? He's past him. How does that happen? He gets grabbed. He gets pulled to the ground. And you can see him get up and he's waving his arms like, I don't understand. Do you see that? They don't see that. Oh, well, I didn't see it. Oh, well, that's a bummer. I didn't see it. All right. Well, now that's the difference. You see everything that Notre Dame's doing. Sam Hartman gets tackled by the neck. Nothing. Jason Onye touches the guy's helmet. We're throwing a flag. It's like, what's going on? That's the kind of thing that drives people crazy. It's like there's no consistency. There's nothing. They're just they're going to call it super tight one way, and they're going to let them go the other way. There are a number of times after the play where they have guys shoving our guys, shoving them, like just like Ben Morrison. No call. You just let it happen. But the one on the sideline, you're going to call that. Like that. That's the problem. It's like there's the selective officiating that drives people crazy. And it happens to Notre Dame every single time they play an ACC team, especially on the road.
I mean, on the road, it happens all the time.
It's
not as much at home, but I mean, but that's what you're going to get. I mean, it doesn't seem to have hurt them from continuing to beat the ACC.
That's true.
I don't know. It's like one of these things where, like, most of them are legit penalties. So you can't really, I can say you can get on, like, the inconsistency of the refs, but most of them are legit penalties. Should they call out a little bit more even in terms of what they're calling? Yeah, they should. But I mean, in the end, you look at it, you're just like, if you're going to have it happen in a game, have it in a game when you win by 3 touchdowns. So you could point to it and tell your players, like, guys, we got to be more disciplined. Like, it's like the perfect way to do it. It's the perfect way.
I mean,
way.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just the perfect thing.
Obviously, it helps. But like when this is all going on, it's 24-17. Coach was beyond very upset with the refs. I think this is about Marcus. He probably was. I mean, Marcus does a thing where he gets mad at them during the game, and then like on Monday, he's always saying, "Well, actually, they were probably right, or they were right." I hate it when he does that. Like with the targeting on Antonio Carter. It's like, don't say that they were right. Like they weren't right. And I don't agree.
Don't say it.
I don't agree.
Yeah, no, it's actually the smartest thing he could do, because you don't get any favors by doing it. Like, there's no point in just being like, guys, the refs really suck. So by the way, you're going to get fined. You're going to get fined for doing that. And then you're also, the next time that ref, he's going to remember that. And that call that's going to, so there's just no point. And I mean, after the fact, whatever, complain on when it's happening for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one thing you can say, because I remember there was a lot of people when Notre Dame lost, to Stanford, and they lost it to Marshall, and they're saying like, this guy's not animated enough on the sidelines, which is so funny because people.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was a thing.
People were saying that, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, really now he's very like demonstrative with not quite Lou Holtz getting the one guy in a headlock, but he's showing them, right? He's showing them that what's going on. And it's just one of those things too. Like there's just a level of inconsistency and like incompetence at the refs. It's like we talked about the other day of like, are refs just this bad? Yeah, they are this bad. Like they just really are at most levels. And it's just like, you just hope that it's not all, in one direction. And in this game, it was probably, tilted in Notre Dame's direction. But like I said, a lot of them were like legit penalties.
Yeah.
And like, what can you do? And so the play with Kaiser jumped offside on the thing. Like,
oh yeah, on the punt.
Just can't. Just
cannot.
Can't do it.
You're like a senior. I hate it when seniors make penalties. I mean, you're right. It doesn't for Freeman. It doesn't do him any favors to to harp on it, especially afterwards. And like you said, you harp on your players after you won by 3 touchdowns. That's what you want to do. But I'll tell you what, it doesn't do him any favors, Jamie. But I'm going to do you and I'm going to do everyone in this chat a favor, and I'm going to turn you on to VSR Media, who is another sponsor of this wonderful show, which is founded by Notre Dame football pregame host and Emmy award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh. VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Probably some stuff from this game, Jamie. They had some stuff from Tennessee State that was really good. And whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com and mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. That's 20% off. You mentioned Irish Sports Daily. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Michael Hahn loves the segues, Jamie. Many people are talking about the segues.
Boots giving props.
Boot loves the segues. And look, I take it seriously, just like the Notre Dame football team takes their game seriously. Anything else sticking out to you, Jamie, from the game? Anything that you wanted to mention, think is noteworthy?
I mean, I think NC State didn't really have a high havoc rate in the game, so I think that stood out. Like they obviously had, the 4 sacks, and those were big, right? Those were big. Mm-hmm. They get the 2 forced fumbles. Obviously, Notre Dame got on one of them. Those are big, but they didn't have a high havoc rate. Like no pass breakups, no interceptions for them. Like, yeah, and really, like, I don't think, like, they had a lot of stuffs in terms of, like, there was a lot, especially early on, right, of what they did against the run. But a lot of that stuff too was they outnumbered Notre Dame in the box.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there were, like, ways too that I think, like, Notre Dame probably could have been a little bit more spread out. But then again, a lot of that play action stuff was was the constricted stuff that turned into big plays for Holden Stace, right? So I don't know. I think it was one of those games where it was just such a weird day because of the break and all that too. But I mean, count that as a big win for what Notre Dame did today too. Just the reaction after the break, the way they played. Obviously, come out, you scored an 80-yard touchdown right away.
Yeah,
That's pretty good. But I mean, it really looked like, oh, this could be like a slog. The whole day could be a total slog, and it was. It ended up, I mean, when you end up winning that game by, like, you're up 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, it really, like, you can't really say enough about the way that things turned out, even when Hartman didn't have his best game. And, the offensive line was like, it wasn't that easy this week, right?
Yeah.
And all of these things that kind of added to it. But explosive plays, they got them, and they were key to the game.
A couple comments or a couple things from Marcus Freeman from the press conference. Apparently the team was eating hot dogs during the break, Jamie. They didn't have enough food for the players. So they're eating hot dogs out there. So that's something. And JD Bertrand has a concussion. He was out with a concussion. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that next week against.
Obviously, he's
Central
not going to play
Michigan.
against Central Michigan.
No, but I mean, in terms of, like, who's going to play the mic now?
I imagine it'll be Kaiser, because
Kaiser.
He was the guy who gets in after, so it'll be Kaiser, and then. But I think great opportunity. Drake Bowen is going to get.
Saw him out there on kickoff.
Yeah.
Kickoff. He had a concussion last week. He didn't get out there, so that's nice to see from him. Yeah, I just think, kind of a big picture thought on this for the team and for the way that I think about the team is, even now, like, the offense, they didn't play that great, but the coaches put them in positions to make plays, and then they went and made the plays, and that, honestly, like, that's what you want from your coaching staff. Is you have a bunch of guys, you have a game plan. The game plan they come up with, it wasn't working. 2 straight 3-and-outs to start the game. They weren't clicking. Sam was a little bit confused, wasn't making the best decisions, and the coaches were able to adjust and put them in positions to go win the game. And then the players responded. That's a team. That's how you want to do it. When that is how your players come to trust you as a staff. And that is how you kind of build and to come up with a kind of a special season. It's when, hey, the players always count on the coaches, just like, have the answers for us. And the coaches did, and then the players responded. Same thing with the defense. That those safeties were sitting in the middle of the field all game, waiting for those crossers. They were constantly jumping them. And then eventually Xavier Watts, he has the breakup. Then a ball pops to him and he intercepts it. And then DJ Brown jumps one and he intercepts it. And then the offense goes and pays it off, wins the game that way. That is how a team gets built. That is how a team comes to trust each other. That is how a team comes together and creates a special situation. Now, what will that lead to? Obviously, we don't know. They have Central Michigan next week. Then you have Ohio State, who looked great against Youngstown today. Congrats to them, I guess. But, like Ohio State, they played Indiana last week. I imagine NC State's probably a better football team than Indiana is. Is that a fair comment, Jamie? Fair comment.
Very fair. Very fair.
And look, they didn't really figure it out on offense. Maybe they did this week, but I just think it says something about Notre Dame that they were able to struggle early and still blow them out. And, you put up 45, like you said, that's kind of crazy against NC State. That just doesn't happen. You put up 45. You have it's 45-17 with 2 minutes left in the game, so that like the garbage touchdown kind of doesn't really take away from the defensive performance. But it's just like, that's, to me, it's just like, that's a big deal. It's a big deal to have your team come together in that way. And I think it's a big deal for Sam Hartman as well. Like we talked about earlier in the show, any other time Sam Hartman comes out and struggles like that, not only is it the loss, it's a double-digit loss. And Notre Dame's players are able to pick him up. The staff is able to pick him up. He makes the throws that they set up for him. He has a bad football game, throws for 286 and 4 touchdowns. No interceptions. And we're going to talk about how he didn't get it early in the game. There's no way that happens at Wake Forest. And that's the difference for him. Jamie, do you have a final takeaway before we send the people off to have a wonderful Saturday?
No. I mean, the only thing I'll say is that get ready. Like this next game, Central Michigan stinks. So that's going to be a game. It's going to be in the mold of there's going to be a lot of young guys who get to play in that game. So, which is a good thing, right? It's a good thing for some guys to gain confidence. But it's like, another little tune up, get some guys healthy, like JD Bertrand. I think that's going to be big to get healthy there. And then get ready. Ohio State, Ohio State, like you said, you're not going to learn much about them before they play Notre Dame, because they don't play anybody else either, really. But their defense is legit. Like I think that this kind of game, how it was for Notre Dame in terms of like not much and then something big to kind of like, that's kind of what you're going to need against Ohio State's defense, in my opinion.
And that's why it's important that it happened.
Yeah.
That's why it's important, because then you can go into that game, and if you struggle early, you say, hey, we're okay. We'll get it figured out. The coaches will figure it out, and there's plays out there, and we'll go make them. That's very important, I think, for the team. It's like they have that belief. Ohio State's going to be tough. I don't care how bad their offense looked against Indiana or whatever. Notre Dame hasn't beaten Ohio State since 1936. Was a long time ago. Since 1995, in the modern kind of time, when Notre Dame lost to them in Columbus, Notre Dame has finished ahead of them in the final AP poll one time in 2000. That's the only time they've finished ahead of Ohio State in the AP poll. And you think, what about 2012, Greg? Well, Notre Dame finished 4 and Ohio State finished 3. Remember, that was the year that Ohio State was under sanction. So they were ineligible. So they didn't play in any kind of postseason game. They were under sanction. And then they both teams had a bad year in 99, didn't finish in the AP poll. And then I think it was 2011 when I think Ohio State was slightly ahead of Notre Dame in 2011. But that's it, man. So it did. Ohio State, they've had Notre Dame's number. They've been a better program over that period of time. But Notre Dame's going to get their shot in a couple weeks. And Notre Dame has set that up to be a very, very exciting game. I think that's going to do it for our show. Thank you, everyone, for in. If you like what you heard, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the notification bell so you know we're going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. I will be back tomorrow morning at 6:30 Pacific time, 9:30 Eastern. People say, Greg, why don't you wait a little bit longer? My daughter has a soccer game at 8 a.m. Pacific. BGFC 2014s, Jamie, had a huge win this morning. Huge win.
Congrats to them.
Yes. Over a rival of theirs. Big win. They started. They were down 2-0 in the first 5 minutes. Stormed back 5-1 run, win 5-3. So big day in the Flamong household. So yes. So all right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Notre Dame wins 45-24. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day, and we will talk to you tomorrow morning.